Hi everyone, it's Vanilla. If you've never been here before, welcome. I'm a furrel who loves everything Pokemon. I'm super friendly, I promise. So I hope you stay a while. And if you have watched my videos before, welcome back. I'm so happy to see you again. You just couldn't help but watch me, huh? It's okay, I don't blame you. I'm just that lovable. Okay, so let's get started. Today's video is going to be different than some of the other content I've been posting. I'm trying out new things, which works for me because I get to try something new, and it also works for you since I'm not making the same thing over and over again. Sorry, sometimes I forget I'm making YouTube videos and not trying to recruit you into my multi-level marketing business, but did I at least convince you? Today we're going to be talking about one of the most popular games in the canon Pokemon roguelike genre, and that is Explorers of Sky. I know, some of you are probably rolling your eyes that I decided to talk about probably the most popular game in the series. And if you're sitting there in your gaming chair, adjusting your glasses and breathing heavily, thinking, wow, what a basic choice, how uncultured. Well, Sweaty Steve, I wanted to pick something that a lot of people have probably played for my first go at talking about the Mystery Dungeon series. So I guess if you call that basic, that's fine with me. Get me that pumpkin spice latte, thanks! Anyway, now that we addressed Steve, I'm going to treat you as if you've never heard about the Mystery Dungeon series before for a quick second. I know that since the game came out 15 years ago, the chances of that actually being true and you still clicking on this video are extremely low, but bear with me. Pretend to have a bad memory to make me feel better, please. Pokemon Explorers of Sky is the 5th installment of the Mystery Dungeon series, and was released in 2009 on the Nintendo DS. It was also released on the Wii U Virtual Console in 2016, which is news to me. I kind of wonder how that played, considering the game is a dual-screen layout. I don't actually know if I played anything on the Virtual Console from the Wii U era, so maybe that's part of the problem. Explorers of Sky contains Pokemon from Gen 4, which includes Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. It's the second installment of Gen 4 Pokemon in the series, with Explorers of Time and Darkness being released about a year and a half earlier. Obviously, there are Pokemon from the previous generations included as well, but there are quite a few Pokemon from Gen 4 which I really appreciate. This game took me over 30 hours to complete, not including post-endgame content, and also not 100%ing it. I don't know about you, but I actively struggle to find games that can offer this amount of playtime nowadays. There's also the replayability factor, which is something that is pretty hard to come by as well. Now, don't think I'm some sort of old fuddy-dud who is blinded by nostalgia goggles. I wasn't really able to comprehend complex stories when this first came out, so when I played through the game for this video, it was like I was playing it for the first time. One of the really unique things that stands out while you're playing through Explorers of Sky is the art style. The pixelated art style of Pokemon is definitely something that I think would be amazing to see brought back. I feel like that would take so much time and effort, but it would definitely be a work of art. The amount of movement and emotion that they were able to capture through the art in this game is insane. Explorers of Sky is nothing short of a masterpiece. I'm gonna do my best not to glaze the game, but it's really hard not to, because I think it's just that good, and I can guarantee you that's my own unasked for opinion because I don't watch other creators' content. I did happen to come across a few contrarian points of view, but I'll address that a bit later. Now, if you're a part of the small minority of people who haven't been able to play Explorers of Sky, or you haven't made it all the way through the game yet, this video is going to have a ton of spoilers. This section in particular is just going to be me summarizing the whole plot, so I'll put a timestamp on screen where you can skip to, so you can't type in all caps at me that I ruined your playthrough. The story begins when we enter the world of Pokemon suddenly, where we wake up on a beach and have no memory of who we are. Our player Pokemon is determined by a very scientific personality test that is extremely concerned about whether you like karaoke or not. We are then met by a Pokemon who is going to be our partner for the entire game. You get to pick this Pokemon before you begin your adventure. No weird tarot card readings for that part. My personality test gave me Skitty and I picked Shinx to be my partner Pokemon. Our partner begins by asking us our name. We share that the only thing that we remember is that we were a human. Since we've completely lost our memory, our partner shares with us the current state of the world. This is the simplest plot point we will be hearing in this whole game. We learn that Pokemon who have previously been good Pokemon are turning bad. Our partner then shows us an interesting relic. They're not sure of its purpose, but to them it seems important. The relic is promptly stolen by a group of bandits that we later learn call themselves Team Skull, who make recurring appearances throughout the game. But they're pretty much the C-plot, so I'm not going to talk about them ever again. We chase them into a nearby dungeon with our partner and take the relic back. After, our partner asks us if we want to form an explorer team, since we really have no other options at this point. Explorer teams help complete tasks for Pokemon, such as rescuing them or recovering lost items from the elaborate and randomized mystery dungeons that have appeared throughout the world. Our partner explains to us that they want to create an explorer team to solve the mystery behind their fragment, and that we may also be able to find a way to get our memory back. Once we agree to form an explorer team, we make our way to Wigglytuff's Guild, which is a group that houses individual explorer teams. When we complete missions that are on the billboards in the guild, Wigglytuff takes an insane amount of money for the guild when we complete them. We're left with 10% of the total earnings, and Wigglytuff gets to pocket the other 90%, presumably to get more perfect apples for himself. At one point, you even have to try to get him more perfect apples because he eats that many of them. Let's abruptly clear an important plot point. There are relics known as time gears, and they control the flow of time where they are located. If a time gear is removed, time around that area completely stops. It also causes the Pokemon in those areas to behave oddly and to not act as they normally would, and their removal is the reason why mystery dungeons are forming. Are you still following? Because it's only going to get more complicated from here. The flow of time is being disrupted by an unidentified thief who is stealing the time gears, which leads us to the introduction of a famous celebrity by the name of Dusknoir. Apparently, Dusknoir is known for knowing everything. He pretends that he's humble, but you can tell right away that everyone is overly excited to have him in town and he's totally overrated. Dusknoir provides information on the time gears and where they may be located. During our search for the time gears, Dusknoir reveals the identity of the time gear thief. Grovyle, he explains, is from the future. He is currently trying to take all the time gears back to the future with him. When pressed on how he knows the identity of Grovyle, Dusknoir reveals that he is also from the future and was sent to capture the criminal. Not long after Dusknoir reveals this information, does he manage to capture Grovyle on his own. Grovyle is brought into town, bound in rope, and escorted by Sableye. It's giving medieval public execution, but Dusknoir explains that he's going to bring Grovyle back to the future to pay for his crimes, and that the time gears would be returned to their rightful place in the present. Upon opening a portal to the future, Grovyle is thrown through, but as Dusknoir is about to leave, he also reaches out and grabs our character as well as our partner and pulls us into the future as well. After that plot whiplash, we wake up in prison, where we are once again captured and blindfolded. Once the blinders are removed, we realize we are bound to a stone pillar, but it's not just us, but also Grovyle. Dusknoir's Sableye cronies are at the ready, and in order to avoid execution, we work alongside Grovyle to escape. During our escape, we grow to trust Grovyle, who eventually joins our quest to getting back to the past, which would also be the present. Grovyle explains that he was collecting the time gears to bring back to the future so he can restore the temporal tower, where the flow of time is being controlled by Dialga. Since the time gears are lost in the future, the planet is paralyzed. The absence of time gears has led to the complete destruction of the temporal tower and has frozen time completely. As a result, the Guardian of Time has lost all reason and transformed into Primal Dialga. Primal Dialga is so terrified of anything that threatens to change the flow of time that he wants anyone involved in his attempted alteration completely eliminated, also known to some of us as being unalive. Our next step is to seek the help of Celebi, the legendary time travel Pokemon who is located in the Dusk Forest, obviously. Just before we're able to enter Celebi's passage of time, we are surrounded by Dusknoir and the annoying purple people. I feel like that would make a really good name for an indie band. Anyway, Dusknoir decides to reveal spoilers, and shares that we are the partner of Grovyle, who was the human that accompanied him on the way to the past to acquire time gears, which is why Dialga wants us eliminated. We pretty much ignore this major plot twist and run through the passage of time and land back in the present. Instead of bringing the time gears back to the future from the present, the temporal tower needs to be saved in the present in order to stop its collapse in the future. Where is my flowchart? I know I left it around here somewhere. The issue is that the tower is located in a place called the Hidden Land, which is a fitting name since no one actually knows where it is. The town elder Torkoal says that only those who are chosen are able to find the proof that they are worthy to know its location. The proof comes in the form of a relic that has an odd inscription, and it happens to be the strange stone that our partner showed us at the beginning of the game. We then make our way to the only location where the same pattern has been cited, which is in the Brine Cave. Here we place the stone, and a beam of light is cast out to sea. This is where we meet up with the guardian of the Hidden Land, Lapras. Lapras takes us, our partner Grovyle, and the time gears to the Hidden Land, where we are instructed to find the Rainbow Stone ship to go to the floating island that houses the temporal tower. Not gonna lie, I was kinda disappointed that the stone ship was not in fact rainbow. On our way, we are cornered by Dusknoir, who just shows up out of nowhere all of a sudden from his squiggly timey-wimey portal, literally hacking. Since this guy won't leave us alone, we have to beat him down. He's still too strong even with all three of us fighting him, and it definitely wasn't fair when he summoned a black hole from his stomach and shot it right at us. But Grovyle takes one for the team and shoves both himself and Dusknoir back into the time portal that takes them back to the future. After losing our new friend, we realize that the temporal tower is collapsing quickly, so we rush to the stone ship to fly to the tower. Once we arrive, we fight through earthquakes and falling debris to make our way to the top. Returning the time gears to the tower effectively restores the proper flow of time. But before our partner is able to put them back, a delirious Dialga appears and tries to stop us from messing with the flow of time. Our partner manages to get the gears back into place, and we save the day. Hooray! On our way down to the Rainbow Starship, we notice that our feet are getting heavy, and our movements are lethargic. Eventually, we are unable to move altogether. Our partner is confused by our odd behavior, but it's unfortunately no surprise to us. Let's put our Time Lord spectacles on for this. Since we were Grovile's partner from the future originally, the time being restored in the present means that the future doesn't exist anymore. So while Dusknoir may have been eliminated by being thrown into the time portal, he wasn't the only one who was going to disappear. We were also a part of that timeline, and so on our way to the stone ship before dissolving into light, we tell our partner to share our story about the importance of protecting time and to talk about the adventures we went on. The game ends with our partner heading back to Treasure Town and Wigglytuff's guild to explain what happened and to continue our legacy. Our partner is left alone once again, just as they were at the beginning of the game. If you followed the timestamp from earlier, hello! You missed quite a bit, but that's okay. Welcome back! Because of my lack of attention and subpar memory, a lot of the time games that have complex stories are a bit out of my realm of understanding or enjoyability, but this game balances plot and gameplay really well. A lot of the time you can choose whether or not you want to continue the story after a major plot point, and you can just go waddle around and complete quests. And I'm sorry, maybe it's just me, but I love doing repetitive tasks in games. You know in Minecraft how you always have that one friend who will just go into the mines for hours while you sit above ground building a dirt house? Yeah, I'm the one who's bringing up all those diamonds and a bunch of chests full of cobblestone. But let's talk about the Mystery Dungeon series' very unique roguelike gameplay loop. The thing that just makes it so lovingly replayable to me is the fact that each dungeon is randomly generated. I'm pretty sure the floors aren't procedurally generated, but they will be in a different order each time. There are a huge amount of dungeons that you're able to choose from, and they all have their own distinct designs and layouts. Some of the dungeons are only able to be unlocked after certain conditions are met. The Pokemon that you're able to add to your team for non-story gameplay are found in these dungeons, and they will sometimes ask to join your team. A lot of the exclusive dungeons are unlocked when you contribute to the Spinda Cafe. This is a cafe that is located at the foot of the stairs to Wigglytuff's guild. Spinda's Cafe is kind of like a food co-op where you bring in items and they will exchange them for other items. While pillaging dungeons, you will probably get a lot of items you don't want, and Wobbuffet and Wynot will happily take them off your hands and exchange them for things like lottery tickets. Let's go gambling! Am I right? Anyone get the reference? No? Just me, huh? Spinda will also take any gummies you find and turn them into smoothies. I'm not sure how good a gummy smoothie would taste. I would personally rather have it on Froyo, but I'm not going to complain about free food. These gummies that we pick up are all different kinds of colors, except for rainbow. Yes, rainbow is a color. And eating them can increase your stats or IQ. That's even more of a reason for me to eat them now. But the IQ system in this game is pretty interesting. IQ points can allow you or your team members to learn new passive skills, some of which are really useful and overpowered. For example, you can learn how not to fall asleep, essentially gaining the ability Insomnia. You can also learn to not friendly fire your teammates when you're confused, which is really nice when you don't feel like taking unnecessary damage. I believe that colored gummies correspond to different Pokemon types. So a yellow gummy would be electric type, and feeding an electric gummy to an electric type is going to increase their stats and IQ points more than if you were to feed them a different color. I think it would be kind of hard to go through the whole game not using the gummies. I found it really useful to set my team members to attack on their own once they encountered an enemy. You can also be more specific with their tactics, like telling them to avoid the first hit when going after an enemy. Your teammates will most likely walk into traps on accident, or pick fights that they shouldn't, but I don't think it's fair to expect them to do everything on their own. We are the main character after all. I found myself challenged by the enemies I faced, especially towards the end of the game. I had to be really careful not to take too much damage and to not stick my head around blind corners. Sometimes dungeons would be completely dark, only allowing you to see a tile in each direction around you, and you get some sort of jump scare by an enemy. Or in my case, since I wasn't paying attention, I'd run directly into them and wonder why I wasn't moving. When I was looking up information on the game a couple of times, I saw some people talking about things they didn't like about the game. I'm not here to make anyone's opinion seem less valuable, I just want to make that really clear. There was discussion about the IQ system that I had just talked about. I think the IQ system is not as optimized as it could have been, but it was also 15 years ago. So realistically speaking, I don't think it makes too much sense to expect it to be completely polished. And what I mean by that is that you do have to do some grinding for items like gummies to increase your team members' IQ, but if you manage to get gummies corresponding to their type, it's not really that time consuming in the grand scheme of things. You're likely to find gummies when you're grinding for levels or rank points anyway. While increasing their IQ gives them buffs, it's still kind of irritating when your team members walk onto self-destruct traps, but I also found myself walking back onto stuff. so maybe I need to increase my IQ. The next criticism I saw is that the game doesn't rely heavily enough on items to ensure your success, and I think this depends on your playstyle. There were plenty of times that I had to use orbs in order to stun enemies or put them all to sleep, especially in monster rooms. I can agree that for the boss encounters, if you're properly leveled, that you probably can go without using items at all, but for example, when I was fighting Dialga, I had to use orbs and berries to keep myself alive. I actually didn't make it through my first run through the Temporal Tower, even with Reviver Seeds. Many enemies in dungeons wouldn't just die from one singular attack, but it's possible I was just too underleveled for this to happen. I was also playing as a normal type, so my moves weren't really able to counter other types very well. I did have my partner link moves together so that they would do more overall damage, and even then they oftentimes weren't able to one-shot random enemies. To kind of bring everything back around again, I think that Explorers of Sky is really a masterpiece if you look at it on its own. I have to admit I haven't played Gates or Super Mystery Dungeon, so I can't really compare it to any of the later games in the series. But Explorers of Sky has one of the most compelling storylines, and it discusses a lot of difficult topics, and does so exceptionally well. This isn't a thorough discussion of the plot, even though I did spend a lot of time to give you the lowdown on it. If I were to give my opinion on the plot, I feel like I'd have to have other games to compare it to, and I don't. So I won't be doing that just yet. But I will say I did end up crying during the end of the game, and that's because having to leave my partner hurt. And that's because we see them turn from this rather shy character who has no self-confidence into one who knows what they want and what their purpose in life is. I like the side characters, even if I didn't get to talk about them in this video. Most of them were supporting characters, but the fact that they were included at all and had their own opinions on things and character developments of their own made me feel connected to them as well. They didn't give off default NPC vibes, which I really appreciated. I like Wigglytuff for his surprisingly important role in the plot, as well as his narcoleptic tendencies. I also thought Bidoof was so cute, but I have a soft spot for Bidoof. They apparently released a Bidoof footrest in Japan, and if the shipping price wasn't so high, you can bet I'd be all over it. I spent a lot of time playing this game's main story, and I haven't even gotten to do the endgame content. It made me wonder what other Mystery Dungeon games are like, and I got curious about them. Looking at the list of Mystery Dungeon games, I found some Mystery Dungeon games that I'd never heard of before, and I decided my next video was going to be about them. So if you like the format of this video, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I love making these videos for you guys. I make Pokemon content all the time, so if you like Pokemon as much as I do, I hope to see you again next time. Okay, bye!